Welcome to Maths for All. I'm Aisling Flynn. This is exam practice. And in this video we're doing statistics. Okay, so this is a 25-mark question. The following table shows the marks a group of students received in a recent exam. So we have a row of values for boys and a row of values for girls. And we have a back-to-back stem and leaf. Okay, the first thing I'm going to do is scan through the data and find the lowest value and the highest value. That will tell us what we need to put in our stem. Okay, so scrolling through, I see 53, 50, 51. Yeah, okay. So 50 is the smallest value or the minimum. And then let's scroll through. There's numbers in the 90s. So yeah, and there 98 is the maximum. So that informs me what to put in the stem. So we have to include numbers in their 50s, so we need the digit 5 in the stem, 60s, 70s, 80s and 90s. Okay, so I think we'll start with the girls first because that goes from left to right, which we're accustomed to. Okay, so looking at the girls' marks, we're trying to find the lowest value. Okay, so I have a 65, yes, followed by 66. Okay, so 65 I enter here, the 6 is in the stem, so just the 5, and cross it out when you've entered it so that you don't miss any or enter them twice. 65 and 66. Okay, now that's all the 60s. Scanning the 70s numbers, we have a 72, a 73, a 74, and try to keep them as equally spaced as possible. It gives you a better look at the distributions. And we've got a 78. Okay, now into the 80s, the smallest value there is 84. Then there are 3 88s, 8, 8 and 8. Okay, and into the 90s we have 93 and 98. Okay, that's the girls. All right, and now moving to the boys. So the boys works backwards from right to left. We saw previously that the minimum value is 50, so 5 is in the stem, so we enter 0, and that reads 50 is 50. Okay, we have a 51 and a 53. So the smallest values are always next to the stem. Now into the 60s we have a 61, and that's it in the 60s. Into the 70s we have a 71, we've a 76, and we've a 79. Okay, into the 80s we've an 83. Into the 90s we have 2 5s and a 6. So 94, 2 95s and a 96. That was the 4, 2 5s and a 6, and we've entered all the data. Okay, not full marks yet, however, because I should give a key to explain how this plot is to be read, and you can choose any example whatsoever. 7 line 2 means 72 marks. Okay, so I've just chosen 72 at random there. Okay, so and that refers to the one there in the girls. Okay, really there should be 2 keys for going right and left, but that'll do. Okay, let's look at the marking scheme for that. Okay, so you see here that 10 marks are awarded for the stem and leaf plot, and it says to check 3 elements. Okay, so 3 things. Were the correct number of entries put in? Are they put in the correct order? And was a key included? Okay, so if you got 2 out of 3 of those things, you get 7 marks. And if you only got 1 of those 3 things, you get 3 marks. So opportunities to gain partial marks even if you don't complete it fully. Right, Next part, from your back-to-back stem and leaf plot, find number 1, the median score for the girls. So you need to know what this word median refers to, and it refers to the middle value. Now if you count the number of entries for girls, you see there are 12 of them. So the middle will be 6 below and 6 above, so between the 6th and 7th value. Or how I like to do it is to go through the numbers that are now ordered in your stem and leaf and take one from the bottom, one from the top, one from the bottom, one from the top, one from the bottom, one from the top. So make sure you're going from the top in here. One from the bottom, one from the top, one from the bottom, one from the top. So the ones we're left with are, this is my 6th value and this is my 7th value. Okay, so the 6th value is 78 and the 7th value is 84. Okay, now between those is where we find the median, halfway between them. So how do you find halfway between two numbers? You're finding the mean of them, add them together and divide by 2. Okay, and so when you add them together, you get 162. We'll divide that by 2 and we get 81. So 81 is the median. Okay, all right, and part 2 says what is the modal score for the boys. Now you need to know what mode or modal refers to, and that means the most common. Okay, so looking at the boys' data, the only place that I see repetition is this 5 and this 5. There are 2 of them. There's only one of each other value. Okay, so the modal mark there is 95. Okay, so let's look. There are 5 marks going for your 81, which we got. Partial credit, so you could get 2 marks if you had answered 78 or 84, so you're close but not quite there. And 5 marks for the 95. Okay. Now, part C. The teacher states that the girls achieved higher than the boys in general. Do you agree with her and explain your answer? Okay, now students struggle with this type of question because it's an opinion question and there may be more than one correct answer. Okay, so the teacher is saying the girls are better. Now if we look down to the stem and leaf plots, for sure the general group of the girls are all bunched higher than those of the boys, so the range is smaller. Okay, and we have already found that the median is 81. Okay, so we can do some comparisons. We could find the median for the boys. Okay, so remember between the 6th and 7th value, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's 7, so it's between 76 and 79 is where we'd find the median. Okay, so halfway between those two, so remember add them and divide by 2. Halfway between those two is 77.5, so that would be a valid answer. Yes, firstly you have to say yes or no. Yes, I agree with the teacher, the girls are better. Because I shouldn't say they, I should say the girls have a greater median mark than the boys. Okay, you could, if you wish, do more calculations. You could go off and find the mean, add them up and divide by how many and compare. Okay, that's extra work. Some people might disagree. Why might they disagree? Well, let's look at the peak for the boys' distribution. There's 4 people there scoring well high in the 90s. Okay, so if you were to present your best students, you might say that the boys did better. Okay, so you could say no. You could say more boys scored higher, scored more than 90 marks. Okay, and you will find as we go to the next slide that both of those answers, even though they contradict each other, will get full marks. So you have to do two things. You have to say a yes or no, do you agree with the teacher or not, and you have to give a valid reason. So we have provided a valid reason for both answers, so both will get full marks. Okay, so you give one or the other, you don't need to give both because that's confusion. Okay, let's get the marking scheme there. So one example said, yes, more girls achieved over 70% in the exam than boys. Okay, or no, boys had more in the 90% range than girls. Okay, so when an examiner comes to mark these ones, the most important part is the reason that you give. Okay, if you give a valid reason, you'll get full marks for those ones. Okay, so there's 5 marks going for that. And you get 2 marks for a partially correct statement. So if you just said yes or no, you get 2 marks, but you needed the reason to give you the 5.